Hi, Emily.
Hi, Joe. How are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you today?
Good. It's great to meet you.
Great to meet you too. Thanks for taking a minute out.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, where are you located?
I am in Sacramento, California.
All right, Sacramento. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Molly Ringwald's dad, Bob, he's a big jazz piano player. He lives up there and I
Oh,
guess
yeah.
performs in the area. I don't know if he does anymore, but I was just kind of trying to think about Sacramento, and I know they have a big jazz festival up there, and
Yeah.
a little bit more temperate up there, huh?
Yeah, it's actually really nice this week. It should be hot at this time of year and it's not, and we're all really enjoying it.
Okay, well, that's good. It's good to
Yeah.
have a departure sometimes. So, what I'd like to do is to start out before we get into your life as a teacher is how did you get through COVID? COVID did things to all of us in its own way. How did you survive that time period, and how has it changed the way that you do things now?
That's a great question. It's actually really relevant. So COVID was, like for many people, was absolutely terrible for me, as I suddenly went from working in like a fun hobby for many people to an extremely high risk profession because I am a voice and piano teacher and I also ran an adult choir. So, singing is like equivalent of coughing in people's faces.
Huh?
So, that couldn't be done
Yeah.
groups. It's hard to do online. You can do some things, but it's just very different than singing in person. So I was actually really highly stressed out and started researching stress for my own personal needs.
Yes.
And what I found out, which is really interesting, I was reading a book called Burnout by Amelia and Emily Nagoski. We're sisters, and they kind of talked about managing chronic burnout in that book. And what I realized as I was reading this is that singing is actually extremely good for managing chronic burnout because it kind of hit three of I think of the five or six things on the checklist for managing burnout. So the first thing is that when you sing, you breathe out longer than you breathe in, which is naturally calming for your nervous system. The second thing is it helps you connect to your creativity. So any creative act kind of helps you um, manage burnout. And then it also helps you connect to other people, whether you're singing with other people or to other people, or you're just kind of connecting to other people's artistic ideas through singing.
Yeah.
And so COVID actually set me on this path of really digging into that. I had a past career in public health. My first career was in public health. So I'm always interested in looking things from that perspective and point of view. And also looking at things we can do as a society to improve our health that are extremely accessible to people. And the thing I love about music and love about singing is it's free. You don't need any particular equipment to do it besides what you have. It's accessible to you at any age. It's accessible to you if you have different kinds of disabilities that might prevent you from doing other kinds of physical activities. Singing is a physical activity. Um, and most physical activities, for most people, all people's bodies are different, are very helpful for reducing stress. So, in a way, COVID opened this whole new way of thinking about singing and teaching singing and conceptualizing singing that really has been revolutionary for me.
So, what did you want to be when you were younger? What was your dream when you grew up?
Honestly, I did not have a specific dream, but I did really think about being an architect for some reason.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, what was the first singer or musician that really pulled you in and made you love music?
Leia Salonga, who was the original Princess Jasmine in
Okay.
Aladdin. Yeah.
Okay.
So a little background. Not only was I of the age that like Aladdin was a big movie when I was, I think, probably a teenager, but I'm also half Filipino, and so is Lea Salonga. And I clearly remember watching, I think, the Oscars or one of those award shows when I saw the person who sings that voice for the first time and being like, oh my God, this is like my family.
Yeah.
Uh, I was like, oh, Princess Jasmine is like me. And I actually saw her in a musical when I was an adult. And she came out by the stage door and was full of Filipinos like me who were like really excited to see her. And then I unexpectedly burst into tears. And my husband was like, oh my God, what's happening? And started weeping. I was like in my 30s. And he was like, are you okay? I think he thought I was having an aneurysm. And I
Yeah.
was like, it's hard to explain.
Yeah. Wow. So,
Yeah.
what was the first live show that you ever saw that really blew you away?
Well, I'll tell you the first live show I ever saw was the New Kids on the Block when I was about 10 or 11.
Nice.
I I never thought I would be able to go to a concert, a live concert in general, and I was, New Kids on the Block were the K-pop of my generation.
Hmm.
I I literally had an out of body experience at that concert. It was a stadium concert. It was like that young brain chemistry
Yeah.
where you're just like, this is magical. I still remember that concert, and
Wow.
I think people
Yeah.
think I should be embarrassed, but I do not. I'm like, it was amazing.
Oh
The
yeah,
best
of
went
course.
together.
Of course. That was the appeal, I mean, that people went crazy. I remember when I was a kid, my dad was a car salesman and he won tickets to the Michael Jackson Victory Tour, and they came to Kansas City to Arrowhead,
Yeah,
and it was when he had the glove and all of his
yeah,
brothers were there, and we
yeah,
waited and waited and waited, and all of a sudden that glove comes up out of the ground, and the it was probably the closest I'll ever get to a Beatles concert. It was
yeah,
piercing screaming.
yeah.
People were losing their minds. It was pretty wild to see.
Yeah, I went with my best friend, and her mother was the one who took us. And her mom said, "I thought you guys were gonna pass out." I was concerned.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So who's been kind of a hero for you in your life?
Who's been a hero for me in my life? God, that's really hard to say. I had like a lot of extra aunts and teachers. I have great parents, but I had a lot of extra aunts and teachers who really took care of me as a young person. And especially now that I did go into music teaching as a second profession, I think a lot about the childhood piano teacher I had. And I just think about like how much she put into me. you know,
Yeah,
the kind of thing you can see really as an adult, that she worked really hard for all of her students. And she was very strict and very demanding, and she also gave back twice as much as she demanded. So I think about her a lot, and I think about how she was a presence in my life every week for 10 years of my life, of my childhood. Um,
wow.
think about how much time that is that
Yeah,
music teachers will end up spending with children. I don't work with children myself. Occasionally I work with teenagers, but not young children. And I'm just, I recently wrote her a letter and told her how much she meant to me, because I thought, like, this is kind of crazy. You work with these kids for all this time and then they just go off and have their adult lives
yeah,
and may not ever speak to you again.
yeah. That's
So I
wild.
wrote her
Well,
a letter and I said, I want you to know that what you did for me profoundly changed my life. And it didn't profoundly change my life right away. It profoundly changed my life maybe 15 to 20 years after I stopped taking lessons with you.
wow, that's I was getting ready to ask if she was around and you got to reach out to her. So that's great. That's really
Yeah.
cool.
And she's
You
still
know,
teaching.
that's cool. Very cool. Once you're in, that's what you do.
Yeah.
So if you can meet anybody alive on the planet right now, musician or otherwise, who would it be? Who would you love to spend some time with?
Oh my gosh, that is a good question. Right now, just this second, a person I'm really interested in talking to is Neil Thason. I'm reading a book that he wrote about complexity theory, which is a very interesting theory that it's kind of like the next step after chaos theory, about how life emerges.
Yeah.
And I mean, this really exciting teaching program that is based on complexity theory. And so I'm just kind of like, that would be a fun person to have dinner with right now.
Yeah,
I'd love to talk
absolutely.
about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in your capacity as a teacher, what is it that motivates you every day? What is it that gets you up and moving and ready to go out there and make a difference?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think about this a lot. So my story is that I was a classically trained pianist as a young child, and I loved to sing, but I didn't do a lot of singing because I was really moved towards piano because I was, not I'm no prodigy, but I was naturally talented at it. Um, but I really loved to sing, but I was not naturally talented at that. So I was really pushed in this one direction. And when I was in my mid 30s, or maybe even early mid 30s, I have what I like to call a precocious midlife crisis. And I was like, I don't know how I ended up in this career. It's a great career that does good things, but I don't really like being in an office all day, and I don't do anything for fun, like my whole life's work. So I ended up trying out to do things that I thought would be fun and that I wanted to do when I was younger. And one of those things was that I took a class, a singing class at community college.
Yeah.
And I got so much better at singing so quickly. And it was a profound revelation for me because I had put singing in this other category of music. different than instruments. You expect to have to learn an instrument. For some reason, I put in my head that you don't have to learn singing. You're just either kind of good at it or bad at it. And I think that's a very common belief in America, the country that I live in, anyways. I can't speak to other places because I don't think this idea of the professionalization of singing exists as much in some other countries as it does here. But I was so moved by how much better I could get and how satisfying it was that I became a voice teacher. I sat in that
Oh,
same voice class for the next 4 to 5 years, watching the teacher teach to learn how to do it. Because I had already gone to college, I already had a master's degree. I wasn't going to go like through this professional training route of going to school to get another degree. And I watched all the lessons and I started tutoring beginning students, and then I became a teacher. And my great passion in life is showing people that it's possible to learn to sing. That it's not this binary where either you're like the Michael Jordan of singing and you're great at it, or you don't do it at all and you just watch other people. It is
yeah.
for everybody, and everybody can learn to sing well enough to enjoy it and feel good
Wow.
about what you produce.
So even those people that bomb the American Idol things, they need a little help.
Absolutely. They can
Yeah.
learn to sing. Everyone can. People will say they're tone deaf. Being tone deaf is actually quite unusual. It's statistically quite rare. What people often don't know how to do is match pitch well and produce pitch, but those are all skills that can be learned.
Interesting. So of all of the things that you've done up to this point in your life, what are you the proudest of?
The proudest I am is of changing my life and leaving my career and becoming a voice teacher. The other thing, which is related, is I'm very proud that I worked with a friend slash colleague of mine to create a business, and we have an adult choir that sings pop music, and it does not require auditions. And every time our choir puts on a concert and we sing, and people tell me like, this is the first time I've sung in a concert. This is on my bucket list for my whole life. I always wanted to sing, and I thought I couldn't do it. It is the most satisfying and like enriching thing for me available.
That's excellent. So based on the life you've lived up to this point, if you were to have a dream tonight and run into a 20-year-old version of yourself, and you could give that version of you a piece of advice based on the life you've lived, the wisdom you've gained, what would you tell your younger version?
That's a great idea. I would tell my younger version of myself, life is going to be so much bigger and more exciting and so much wider than you can imagine right now. Right now, you have small wishes and dreams for yourself. And I would tell her, don't chase success, chase, um, I guess, the feeling of motivation. I think when I was younger, I really like gutted my way through everything and thought that just working hard in kind of a punishing way was the secret to happiness or success. And now, I'm what is like statistically considered midlife. I feel that like gentleness and love has brought me so much more success in my life than the way I saw it, the path when I was younger. So for me, I would say like you don't have to work so hard. It'll all be okay.
Would she have listened to you?
Probably not.
That's right.
Very strong-willed.
Yeah, there you go. So what singer is out there today in the world that you would love to see live? Who's one of your favorites?
Oh, I'll tell you. I know right away, and I have seen her live. I love Sarah Bareilles as a singer.
Yeah.
And I will say she has always been a good singer, but I heard her live recently, and I know because of her career trajectory, she's been on Broadway for the last couple of years, which is a totally different demand on your voice than being a recording artist singer or even a touring singer, because you have to sing hours 6 days a week and on Sundays twice while dancing and acting. It is extremely demanding vocally. You have to have your voice in really healthy shape. And I heard her sing at a concert in January. It was live, and I was stunned by how much better her voice sounds, even from her recordings, even
Wow.
recent recordings. I could, like, as a voice teacher, I'm like, you have worked hard. Your voice has grown in richness. It's like you don't think about your artists, you don't think about singers growing as singers. You think they just like emerge fully formed and then they
Right.
just remain the same skill level. No, she is incredible live and her voice is growing. exponentially even since the last recorded album she had. It was such a great experience for me.
So she did the Phantom of the Opera for a while, right?
She wrote Waitress, and she wrote Waitress. She performed in it, not right away because she actually said it was too hard for her. She wrote the
Wow.
musical and she couldn't perform the lead right away. She performed it a couple years after it opened.
Yeah.
And I think she's currently doing Into the Woods on Broadway right now.
Okay. All right. Excellent. So everyone out there has a perception of you, family, friends, students, but you ultimately live your life. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Who do I think I am? Gosh, I wasn't prepared for so much existential.
This is the therapy question.
You know, I think one of the self-perceptions I have of myself is that I'm much tougher than I seem. Um, I think that I kind of come off, for people who know me, as like kind of goofy or ding dong, and I'm those things too. But I think inside I have a lot more ambition and toughness than is immediately apparent, from how I interact with people. So I guess that's what I'd say. I'm tougher.
Excellent. Excellent. So if anyone wants to learn more about you, anything, hire you, anything pertaining to your world, where can they go?
Yeah, they can go to my website, which is Macondo Music 916, and I'll spell that because it's like, what does that mean? Macondo music 916.com. And specifically related to something I talked about earlier, I received a grant through the city and the National Endowment for the Arts to make a class about the singing between connection and stress management. And that class is on my website, so if you go there, you can take it for free. They gave me a grant to make that class available, so if you'd like to do that and you're interested in learning more about that, you can go to my website and you can download the class for free, and you can also see how to work with me if you're interested in that.
Excellent. Emily, hey, thank you so much for taking time out today. Best of luck with everything.
Yeah, thank you so much, Joe. It's so nice to meet you.
Great to meet you. Thank you. Take care.
Bye.
See ya.